Hi, everybody. It's Nina Vasquez and Isela, and we're here for Trauma Talks and Truths. Um, it's Monday, and we haven't pulled cards in a while, and we haven't been on since last week. So we thought we would pull some cards and chat. Want to add to that, Isela?
So we're gonna pull some cards this week to set some intentions. I have my love being deck. Nina, what deck will you be using today?
I have Love Being, but I love my Earth Warrior cards, Earth Warrior Oracle cards. So I thought we could pull from there too.
Can you show them to see what they look like? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what the box looks like. And then these are the cards, and they're super cool. I
Those
usually
are
like to pull
beautiful.
from here at least once a week. The book is quite long, so I won't read the whole book, but yeah, so we'll do that too.
All righty. So I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle my cards. And I'm gonna take a second to just kind of get grounded. Okay. And I want anyone who's watching this to know that we actually have a platform or we have a community on the Circles platform where I do this weekly, where I provide, where I pull some cards and provide some weekly guidance. And then we have individual readings that are available in our paid part of that community. And so I do individual readings. Right now it's weekly. As we continue to grow, I'm going to have to think about whether it's a good idea to do weekly. But right now I am offering those weekly personalized readings. They're mini readings because my ones that I actually do are an hour to an hour and a half. So they're more like mini readings. Okay. So I got my first card. And I'm going to do two. And I got my second card. That's so interesting. Okay. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to take turns? Do you want me to go first? What do you want me to do?
You go first.
Okay. All right. So my first card I got is Channel. I can receive messages directly from Spirit. Now, the process of learning to connect with Spirit intentionally, because we're always connecting. We're always connecting. We're just unconscious of the fact that we're connecting. And that sometimes can come through via intuition, or there's little hunches that we get. Now, I want to be very, very clear that the hunches that we get, 99.9% of the time, those hunches come from a space of love. They're little whispers that are loving and not in any hurry. It's not like a kind of thing, like, oh, like based in fear at all. A lot of people will confuse that with sort of their sometimes old stories of experiences might creep up and show up as though it's an intuition, but it's an old story that shows up that way. And so it might be that you have poor relationships with certain types of people, or that you don't trust like a certain energy. And because that energy reminds you of an experience where someone may have harmed you. And so that's where the healing process is really important in order to be able to truly trust, not just trust, but I be able to discern which is coming in as an intuitive hit and what's coming in as our neuroception at play. And so it's something that, we just have to work at. So once we are able to really rely on and trust and discern between the messages, we can actually start to channel in information. And Nina has been doing this recently. One of the things that I shared with Nina is to just kind of start journaling, and you just write whatever comes to your mind, and see if anything just starts flowing within you. See if you get any kind of information or messages. And the journey is a little challenging at times because you have to learn to trust it.
Yeah.
And that's what some people don't. And in the beginning, it may be mostly your voice, but the more you practice the process, then you'll start to realize, whoa, I wouldn't have said those words, or that's not a thing that I even thought about. Like, why am I writing this? So it's clearing the channel and then trusting the experience. Do you want to share anything about channeling for what you've experienced, Nina?
Yeah, I'm at this stage of channeling where there is times where I don't trust it, and so what I started to do was write, but then also start typing, and then sometimes I just like lately have been typing with my eyes closed, and like things are just coming to me. I mean, some of it might be my own voice because I'm not at that trusting place where I'm trusting all of it is not my own mind. So that is something I'm doing. And then something else I'm noticing with channeling lately is when I'm doing something that doesn't pertain to anything I start thinking about, usually my mind's thinking about the past. The mind is just a record of the past. It's just constantly thinking about the past. And like, let's say I'm cleaning my room or doing laundry. And if I start, it almost feels intentional, like thoughts about something I'm going to be doing, like, have a group, and I just started thinking about how to teach them something. This wasn't intentional. This was like it's coming through me. And so that's what it felt like in that moment because I wasn't intentionally thinking about that on purpose. Like, I wasn't sitting down with like, okay, how do I want to teach them this concept? It just like it felt like it was just coming through me.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that has to do with being passive, like not really intentionally thinking about anything, just being present with the things I'm doing. That's what I'm noticing about channeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important that's a really important part of this. You do have to be fully present because that's the only thing that actually exists is the present moment. And that's the only way that spirit can connect to us is to learn to simply be. And when you are in that be state, it's simply, in that present space, that's when you can receive messages clearer. Yeah, I also am a strong believer that anything creative that comes through us or anything creative that we do is something that actually came through us.
It's really fun to think about that too. It like takes the pressure off yourself. It's like, it's like going to come through me. Yeah. Yeah. So that's been fun. And the present moment, in order to be in the present moment, in my opinion, it requires that you can be in your body, grounded. Even when you're folding clothes, you're there with a shirt, or you're hanging clothes, you're there with the hanger, right? You're in your body. And that's why we do trauma healing work, because it does require that you're present in the body to be in the present moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next card I got, Dark Night of the Ego. I know a lot of people will say the Dark Night of the Soul. I think it's the Dark Night of the Ego. I think the ego is the one that's trying to self-actualize, wants to be different, wants to be special, wants to be more than, wants to, in this constant state of needing and seeking. And I think that's the part of us that we actually need to integrate and not necessarily reject or try to get rid of. It's recognizing that if we let the ego know that this is what's happening, it's so that it doesn't feel threatened, because the moment the ego starts to feel threatened, it's going to send you into an overdrive. It's going to send you thinking that you're not enough, you never had it together, what's wrong with you. It's going to do all of the things to keep you feeling like you are not in alignment with your truest self. Sometimes what happens is there'll be outside circumstances that will then create within you an aha moment, an evolutionary experience, something that you hadn't considered before. You feel like the blinders have been taken off. And I think that's what's happening right now in the United States specifically. A lot of people are experiencing that. And so it can be a very overwhelming experience to come to the realization that you've believed something your whole entire life, and all of a sudden things seem clearer now. And so this can tip you into this space of uncertainty that could then spiral into something feeling very deep and heavy. Not everybody experiences it that way, though. There are some people that just see it as a difficult moment, a difficult experience, and they're able to move through it easier. Everyone has a different experience of the dark night of the ego.
How I'm curious how it's almost like you're like rewiring, reteaching, re-nurturing, educating the ego, working with, so how in real time, let's say the ego shows up in your experience, how do you go about that part?
I think more than anything else, it's the practice of becoming the observer. So what it is, when we're in it, that's really, really hard, because when you're in it, you're feeling all the feelings. You're feeling uncertainty and doubt. And I think in terms of what's happening right now in the United States, I think powerlessness is what a lot of folks are experiencing, is that I'm feeling like I'm not going to have any personal power. And that for some of us who didn't at some point in our life have any power control, particularly when we're children, because we're powerless when we have children. Mm-hmm. The adults are the ones who are responsible and who are supposed to be taking care of us, right? And so I think what happens is to be the observer of the emotions and the experiences that we are having. And it doesn't mean that that we're not in it and we don't allow ourselves to have the experience. It's this weird sort of sensation of having and feeling the experience, right? Mm-hmm. And then recognizing that this is a temporary experience that I can actually navigate through with the help of spirit, with the help of your angels, with the help of your guides, with the help. Like when we recognize that we're not alone in this, it does make the journey a bit easier. Because there's a point of surrender that happens. There's the point of surrender where you kind of go, okay, I can't do this on my own. Please provide the guidance and the support that I need to be able to move through this with grace and with ease. I say that's why it comes out so easily for me, because I say that a lot. Please provide the guidance and the support that I need with grace and with ease. And then I also say, thank you for showing me this experience so that I can heal. Because that's really what it comes down to, is I have the opportunity now. To really heal from this experience or from prior experiences.
What came to me as you were talking was so if we were children and we were helpless, one of a couple things happen. You can go into fight or flight. You can go into fight, meaning I am going to control everything I possibly can. This leads many of us to striving. Both of them are the same thing. I strive for my worth, and I don't trust anybody outside of me. Right. And also the universe, until you wake up to that. And then the other way is, this was my trauma response. Me and Isela have two different trauma responses. Mine was shut down and freeze, right? And or fawn, mostly fawning. And so also I don't trust, right? And so if we can see ourselves activated, wherever we are activated might look like I'm in anxiousness, or I'm completely shut down and numbed out and I'm like in a turtle shell and I'm avoiding everything. If we can see where we are, and then bring ourselves to safety using some sort of regulation tool, and then remind ourselves what's true, what you said, right? But most of the time what we're doing, what I see people doing, is they're just they're skipping the regulation part altogether. And I don't mean regulation so you can calm down. I mean regulation so you could just feel safe in your body right now, because sometimes we're just in our own home. feeling unsafe, right? And so we can bring safety into the body now, and then you can remind yourself of what you want to say to spirit, right? Of what you know about you as an eternal being. But we don't want to start there, because oftentimes the ego is not going to believe that if you're not regulated, you don't feel safe. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you're going to pick a card?
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get grounded too. Okay. I feel like I pulled this card last time. I might be wrong. This feels very familiar. So I pulled Anya Durga, Power of the Good. Maybe. Number 15.
The Power of Good.
Power of the Good.
Huh. Okay. I don't remember that, but okay.
Not. Yeah, I might have pulled it outside of here. I pulled this card before. Okay. All right. Power of the Good. You need never lose faith in the power of good. You need never lose faith in how much you can accomplish as an independent and inspired individual in this world. You need never believe that you are alone or without divine protection. You need never fear evil. The third eye of the Divine Mother sees all things, is ever watchful and ever just. She births through holy vision the manifest power of good in all realms. Her gaze is upon you now. Trust her. Yeah.
That's lovely.
I feel called to keep reading the part. It's a little bit lower. Yeah, this kind of goes with what we're talking about. Okay, so I'm going to skip a bunch of parts and then just go to the part that's really calling me. Use your divine connection to deal with it promptly and effectively. Call for divine support in all things. You will not divert help from someone else if you ask for it for yourself.
You know, God, there's so many things I could say about that. First off, I never quite understood that. I never understood the notion that if I ask for help, that I'm taking away from people who really need help or situations that really need, like, there isn't a limitation to spirit. There's no limitation. That belief is a human belief. There is no limitation. That's why Archangel Michael could be with me and be with you and be with everybody else at the same time. There is no limitation to spirit.
I feel like that is ego. Like, I've had this before. When you've experienced trauma, you'll often say, but it wasn't that bad for me compared to them. And so you might be in your life now thinking, I can't ask for help. Well, I'm going to use like an example that most people would be like, no, you don't need to be asking Archangel Michael for that help because there's bigger things out there. So for example, like I need to be somewhere on time and I'm circling a parking lot. I can't ask for help to find a parking spot because there is war going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what would you say to that?
I don't have that. That's what, like, I hear you, like, and I know people do that. Like, and I think the one you said right before that is really, really good because I think a lot of people say, I didn't have it so bad because there are people who had it way worse than me. Like, why would I ask for help when there are people who need so much more help than me? Like, intellectually, I get it, but I don't have, that's not a worry that I have. I never had that worry, actually. Even when I was a kid, and I relied so much, I can't even tell you how much I relied on my faith. And, I was a kid. What I knew was Catholicism. And then I started, I started working with Jehovah's Witnesses for, many years. So those were my two understandings of faith at the time. And it didn't matter because it all rooted in the same place. And for me, it was just help me. And now I don't, in my prayers, I don't beg because I know that's not how prayer works. Now, if you need to beg, beg.
I've done it. I've done it many times.
Yeah, because I used to please help me. Especially when I was little, and I did feel helpless and hopeless. But I never felt like God, because that's what I was praying to primarily, was like God. I never thought God didn't have enough time for me. I never thought that.
I'm fascinated by that you didn't, it's like you just don't have that at all. And I had that my whole life. And, up until even a couple of years ago, I felt that way. And I have my fingers crossed because I want to share this. I believe ego wants you to stay small and wants you not to get help and wants you not to believe in a source outside of you. And it kept me there for a really long time. You're weak if you get help. Other people had it worse than you. I mean, those were beliefs that I believe for, I believe for, let's say 30 years. I always thought that I should be able to handle this. I mean, I think that is the small self. Because think about ego doesn't want you getting help. Right?
Yeah.
Stay in these small self behaviors, small self patterns. Think that you're here by yourself.
You know what's interesting is you say that it's not that I didn't asking for help was something that was challenging for me, like asking help from people, because there always had to be the perception that, I could do anything and everything on my own. But really what it came down to is there was a fundamental belief that was passed from my mom to myself and my sister, was that there's nobody else, no one's going to help you except for you. No one sticks around. And so that was a belief that was passed down to us. And I mean, I think we heard that on a regular. And so there was a belief that I had that, it's up to me, and, people aren't going to stick around. So I had that in my human experience. But when I came down to asking for guidance and support from God, I never thought that God wasn't listening. Isn't that interesting? And in the Jehovah's Witnesses, in the religion, they state that God only listens to those who are witnesses. Isn't that fascinating?
That is fascinating.
God does not listen to anybody else. Nobody else, and that's why they do the door-to-door, is because they're trying to help you become part of the chosen few who are going to be able to live again. And so because their belief is that once you die, your soul dies, you're in a resting, sleeping state until a new earth happens and the true intention occurs. So, we'll start all over from scratch. And, and Eve won't, be a selfish bitch, and then everything will happen as God had intended. So that's what it comes down to.
Damn it, Eve.
If she wouldn't eat that apple, then none of this shit would have happened. Yeah. So, but it didn't matter because then after I went through Witnesses, I went through Christian and then Baptist and all the things. But, I don't think there was ever a time where I didn't feel like God wasn't listening to me, that that fascinating. And I think part of it, you had made mention, there was something else in the card, the first part. Can you reread the first part?
You need never lose faith in the power of good. You need never lose faith in how much you can accomplish as an independent and inspired individual in this world. You need never believe that you're alone or without divine protection. You need never fear evil.
Oh, that was it. That was it. That's the evil. I grapple with this personally. I grapple with this because I decided a long time ago that I wouldn't align with what people call lower energy. And I just made the decision. I made the decision to go, okay, sometimes I do when I go into a space, I can feel heaviness. And I'll tell you where I feel the most heaviness, which is really awkward or weird. I guess not awkward, weird is Starbucks.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, so when I walk into Starbucks and I'm sitting there, because it used to be, there didn't, way back when, there wasn't a lot of coffee shops out where I live. And we had like a Starbucks like up the street here and a Starbucks more west of us, but we didn't have like independent coffee shops or other, it was primarily Starbucks. And so I would go there to work and I would tell you that the energy in that space would be heavy for me, and not where I felt like I was being like psychically attacked or not like that. It was just heavy. And I recognize that it may be what I'm experiencing and feeling is this very ego driven sort of like, it's just the clientele, which is different there than when I go to a mom and pop coffee shop where there's more of an eclectic group of people. Not that ego doesn't exist within all of us, but just energetically, collectively, I felt different in a Starbucks than I would in like a mom and pop kind of independently owned coffee shop. And so this notion, once I made the decision, I don't experience or attach to, or like evil is just not part of my experience of life. My cousin, who also does what I do, she experiences evil things all of the time. There's darkness, there are things that she hears in the home, there are things that she just experiences these types of things. And I don't. And I don't know if it's because I made the decision and I don't pull it or track it or put any attention to it. I don't know if that's what it is. And there's a teacher, Samuel Lee, B. Lee,
Yeah.
that talks differently about evil, where he says there's this group that actually detached from source. And in order for this group that really is sort of this darker energy, in order for them to actually continue to exist, they are fed by, these very dark experiences, the lower energy that's happening right now. And so that's what's happening, is there's this like spiritual war happening between this lower energy. That was sort of a, like, I've been thinking about that and I don't know how I feel about that, because even with all the shit that's happening right now in the United States, I see it as a reflection of our collective ego, our shadows, and that's what's coming to surface. So I don't see it as evil happening to us. I see it as the opportunity for us to rise as love, so that we can create the experience we want to see, as opposed to fight. And it's not that we don't oppose, and it's not that we don't
Right.
resist. It's that we don't align with the energy that is
The darker energy,
the
or
darker energy
the
that's not
darker
like
energy.
right.
Yeah. I also am sitting with that, like a knowing uncertainty. Like I don't have a knowing around that. If darkness, because I follow Danny Morell and he does speak to darkness. Like he'll say darkness or dark energy. But I also think at one point he didn't believe that either. And so what I'm learning, which is so fun, is after a lifetime of fawning, guess what I get to do? Have my own opinion. And I'm just sitting with the not knowing. But I do try to focus. I don't experience dark things either. But like, when I say darkness, I think of being afraid of the dark, and I was for a very long, long time.
Same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I just sitting with not knowing that. But I do think that like lower vibrational energies, guilt, shame, what are some of the other ones? Fear. um, insecurity, anxiety. It's so weird, but like back there, the Letting Go by David Hawkins is on the floor.
Mhm.
That book, and that's where you can see like all the frequencies of these energies in that book. Um, and so I'm learning more about that, but I'm still. I mean, I know they exist because I experience them. Those energies, they're part of the human experience, um, but also they're created by ego.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
mental trauma.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I think anything that is not of love is an experience of the ego.
Yeah,
Um, and so, and the initial separation from source, if that's true,
if it's
if there is a if there is a heavier energy that is the separation, that is an ego driven experience. And so that that collective, if that collective is true, yeah, it's also that extension. And so I realized that even when I'm like talking to my daughter about people who do bad things, who do hurtful things, harmful things, I don't go to a place of they are evil.
mm,
I don't do that. There and I've worked, I'm not like where I'm completely unaware of the atrocities that happen. I worked in crisis intervention for a long time. I had kiddos who were literally sold
mm,
for sex so their parents could get high. Like I've seen and worked with, and now I didn't experience that personally, but I have been very close to those types of experiences and worked with children who have seen
yeah,
horrendous things. Even in those cases, it's not that those are bad things that happened and they should have never happened. But I don't know that I look at it and go, this is evil. And I don't know how to and it's not I don't know that I'm reconciling it because it's not really that. It's that I feel like there is there there are things that happen from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime that we don't always have an understanding as humans in this current state that we are in, and that there's a broader, bigger picture of things that, and I don't have the answers to that. And so I don't really need to have the answers to that. And so I go, yes, those are horrible things. What that person did was horrendous. And I set that aside from my role and responsibility to be, whether it, I'm there to help people with trauma. I'm here there to help the child be able to feel safe and loved and connected. So I see my role in the experience as really leaning into love as opposed to blaming and all of the things that are happening over here. Does that make sense? I'm
it
like,
does. It does because I mean, let's take for example that mother. We have to wrap up in like 4 or 5 minutes, but let's take it for example the mother or father who sold their child for drugs. If you think about them, and you could say that's dark energy, but where is that created?
yeah.
What pain are they masking? What pain are they not feeling? What they have some, like you said, there's either generational trauma or trauma within. And I know this because my own mother, she wasn't far from doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So there's pain that she was not able to process that trauma in her lifetime or lifetimes prior to her. I'm not like excusing her or those
Right.
parents, but I have a hard time with just saying that's just dark energy also because I've made some choices in my life that were created by my unhealed pain, my unhealed
Right.
trauma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
comes
And
back to that.
and yeah, I try to see, and I don't know if this is just my way of how I compartmentalize things in order to do the work that I did for so long, but I don't know their story. I don't know their story. Now, I'm number one, I'm going to protect the child and I'm going to protect the situation. I'm going to tell the child, hey, or any adult, child, adult, doesn't matter. This shouldn't have happened. And it was a really horrible thing. And what you're feeling is a very real experience. So I'm never going to minimize that. At the same time, I also trust the entire journey of our experiences.
Yeah. I can only imagine that, you being there to help that child see that it never should have happened, or adult, is healing in itself. Right. We're not saying that, like, because your parent was unhealed, that this should have happened to you.
Right.
It should have never happened to you. And then we are there, you're there. And I've not experienced that. I have stayed so far away from things like that because I didn't have the capacity to serve in that way. So for you to be there and help that child heal in any way, even just attachment, right?
Yep.
Healthy
Yep.
attachment is huge. Yeah. So I can't see that, like, it's hard for me to reconcile that that's dark energy, but maybe, I don't know, this is just coming to me. Maybe that energetic force that was separated from source gets fed by those of us that stay in the lower vibrational energies, and our mind is just calling it dark energy. Like, our mind has to make up something. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. We just went down a tangent of, I don't know. We hope this
helps.
It's
okay to be in that space. It's okay to be in that space. We do not have to know everything. I think our primary goal, or at least my goal anyway, is to be in the current moment, in this experience that I am currently having. And the more I can do that, I think the more clarity and guidance I get from source.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope this helped you. If you're still listening, please let us know that you listened and that you tuned in. We'll be back on Wednesday. And you can hop on live for live coaching on Wednesday if you'd like. Live coaching, guidance, for anything you're experiencing in your life.
So everyone have a fabulous Monday.
Have a good Monday. Bye.